And welcome back, everyone, to the Bitcoin Business Bureau. I'm your host, as always, Litecoin Leader. Today, we're going to be joined by another Litecoin person, Litecoin Lisa, who was so nice to actually host me for an interview. We actually called it a crypto journey, but it was a lot more, I'd say about 10 or 20% crypto. We talked about the world of finance, how things are looking forward to the economy, some X22 type topics as well, some little woo-woo. So I hope you enjoy it. We also touched on Altcoinopoly. There's plenty of time to still play the game. You can get caught up on all the videos. They're only 20 minutes or so for each coin. You have plenty of time to watch the videos between now and the end of July. I'd say about half of the videos have been released, but about 2 or so come out each week through the end of July. And you can play the game for $20 a month at LitecoinLeader.com. It's hard to beat that kind of information. Potentially win a trip for 4 people to Myrtle Beach for a week. Have dinner with me, enjoy a meetup once we figure out the schedules. I mean, that's hard to beat. But in the meantime, as you consider joining LitecoinLeader.com, enjoy this interview with Litecoin Lisa, and I'll see you right afterwards.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the new normal. I'm your host, Lisa Davis, aka Litecoin Lisa. And today I want to introduce you to a friend of mine. I've known him for a few years now, met him in the crypto space. You guys know him as Litecoin Leader, but he is very knowledgeable about a lot of things crypto, wants to help people. And I think he's even a little woo-woo. So we'll get into some of that here in just a second. You guys do us a favor and give this video a like and share this video. Let's show people that there is lots of love in the crypto fam and lots of room for more people to join. We'll be right back with the Litecoin Leader. Welcome back, everybody, and welcome to you, my friend, Jeff. So great to have you on here. I know we've been trying to connect and things have been crazy, so I appreciate you being patient with me. But how are
those are always
everything
fun.
going?
Yeah, everything's going good. Thanks again, Lisa, for having me on. I know you were a little under the weather, but things happen. We adjust, we move forward. That's kind of how we do in the crypto space.
I think that's part of being a patriot as well. We've got to keep moving. Things are rolling out not how we would have liked them to, or and we've got to be able to move and adapt. And I think that part of the crypto is that too. I've really been excited watching these different countries. First we're watching El Salvador, and now there's a list of countries that are talking about having crypto, Biitcoin specifically, become their legal tender. And so I'm wondering kind of what your thoughts are, just kind of at a macro level, of how you see cryptos affecting the world at this time.
Well, I think that's the next step in the evolution of adoption. I think the fact that we have countries that are adopting it kind of gets it out, and not just in the news, but also in the marketplace. And now countries have to react, and like, how are we going to interrelate? How are they going to transact? El Salvador, their number one export-import country is the United States, and they use the U.S. dollar. That's their common denominator. So a lot of Latin America is now moving towards the Bitcoin, and a lot of the consumers are now going to have to get banked in Bitcoin. But the next domino really is Mexico, because once Mexico gets into Bitcoin, then you have a border country, you have a NAFTA country that's ready to transact with Texas, and then the U.S. the doors fly wide open.
Interesting. I hadn't thought about how Mexico would play into it. And I know I have my own thoughts about Mexico and what our partnerships might be, or what there might be some arrangements that are already lying in wait for us with the USMCA and all those kind of things. So it's interesting to me. And Mexico's, one of their, all the tourism is probably their number one resource, but then, the precious metals are really a big part of Mexico as well. So it'd be interesting to see if that's some kind of transition or way of playing that out.
Yeah, Mexico is a big into the silver. They're one of the top 10 countries for silver, so that'll definitely play into it.
Interesting. Well, and we've had some talks about some of the Nicera stuff. I don't know if you want to jump into that or save that for later, but I would love to hear kind of your thoughts on, and maybe not Nicera, how it was written 20, 30 years ago. Maybe that's the question is, do you believe it will roll out, and do you believe it'll roll out the way that they kind of wrote about it in books a few years ago? And if not, how do you see it playing out differently?
Well, I mean, the Nassar is interesting. I mean, there was that book written by Bernard 30-ish years ago, and it's been rumored around. No one can get a copy of the book anymore, but Nassar, everything evolves over time. I mean, how we think it's going to happen, like we all have our ideas how things are going to play out, even in the last, 2, 3, 6, 18 months, let alone 30 years. So I think Nassar is an evolution. Bitcoin didn't exist back then. So now there are different methods that are going to be around for us to get to a reset of some kind in the currency, which has to happen. They're going to revalue things. There could be a currency revaluation. There could be debt forgiveness. Trump even had, when he was in North Carolina, he even said, like we should just forget about the debts that are owed to China because of what they've done. So that could be part of it as well. So debt forgiveness factors in. So there's all these different factors. We don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but there's been lots of things that have happened over the past few years. There's been debt forgiveness for college loans for several people. It's playing out behind the scenes, but so much is going on that we don't have full visibility to. So we really won't know until it's history.
Well, even these PPP loans and things that happened because of the great infection. I received a letter the other day that in my business, we had requested the first round of the PPP loans, and we're able to file a very simple form and got a letter back saying it's all magically forgiven, including the interest that would have been on it. So that's going to affect banking as well, I would think, because typically banks give those loans, and that's how they make money, is they create this fake money by creating interest that doesn't exist. So how do you see all of this affecting the banks as we get into cryptocurrency and Bitcoin being legal tender?
Banks are going to have to evolve, whether they like it or not. And the ones that are going to be the most nimble, they're going to be the ones that survive. But if banks refuse to adopt the new systems, which are coming, then they're just going to go the way of like the dollars and the loans. Because a lot of this, another way to go back to the debt forgiveness is that with hyperinflation coming and the dollar being worth less and less, your debt that existed now is going to be less of an impact on your bottom line. So if you owe $10,000 on a credit card, $10,000 could be a cup of coffee in 4 years. So that could very well be that you're just hyperinflating all the debt away. So banks they're going to have to get with the program. They're going to have to they have to adopt crypto. They don't want to, but because they lose control. So they are creating, as you said, they create wealth, they create money by writing loans and creating loans out of just by writing about paper. But right now, no one's writing home equity loans because no one wants to buy that paper. So banks are really in a tough spot right now.
Definitely. Well, I know I kind of hit you hard with some big things right off the bat, but you have a channel that I really am excited about. You jump on, you're very involved in the community of all of a lot of crypto channels, and you have a lot of knowledge about our history and as well as banking industry and currency and all this. And so I definitely wanted to feature your YouTube channel on here. Everybody can go subscribe, find Litecoin Leader on YouTube. And what's kind of your goal for your YouTube channel? What kind of information are you wanting to get out there?
Well, right now it's focused predominantly on cryptocurrency because a lot of what I'm putting out now is related to the game I'm playing on my website. So the easiest way to find me, if you can remember Litecoin Leader, you can find me. LitecoinLeader.com, that's my webpage. LitecoinLeader.io, that takes you to my YouTube. And Litecoin Leader is my name on Instagram and Telegram. So if you can remember Litecoin Leader, you can pretty much find me. But the Altcoinopoly game that I developed and onto my website is basically it is a subscriber website, but I'm basically I'm trading time for information. So I'm doing all the legwork for you. I'm giving you 35 different coins over the next several months. By the end of July, you'll have a full Altcoinopoly board released, and you can. And each video, it releases one piece of the puzzle to the game. And then when you can fill out the entire board, you submit your board in August. And then as long as you're subscribed to LitecoinLeader.com before August 1st, you're eligible for the drawing. The winner gets a trip to Myrtle Beach, and we do a meetup, we do a dinner. So that's part of the big giveaway. So this is my way to jumpstart people into learning about 30 to 35 coins that I know backwards and frontwards. And I give everybody a little 20-minute video of my knowledge to say, here's the information on that coin, and then come along, play with us, and learn how to build a portfolio of cryptocurrency.
So is this something that people, if you've already started the game, can people catch up? This isn't, you didn't have to start at a certain time. You can go through and do it at your own pace by watching these videos and learning.
Absolutely. You can join sometime. I mean, middle of July, you'll have to watch a bunch of videos in July, but you can join in July up to the very end. And it's $20 a month is the entry level for joining the site. And you get access. About 2/3 of the videos are free on my YouTube channel. But to get all the pieces, you have to get some of the subscriber videos, which are only eligible and available to members.
I love it. What a fun way to learn about cryptocurrency. Interesting. So we're kind of going backwards here in the interview, but I think that's okay. You've got a lot of great information to share. What got you into cryptocurrency? When did you first hear about it, and what made you take that active step to get involved?
Well, I heard about it probably in like 2013, 2014, but I didn't really get into it till 2016. And I had friends that did fantasy football or online poker, and a lot of things in there used Bitcoin. But I had a friend of a friend who just got back from a trip to Asia, and he said he paid for the whole thing like for a month with Bitcoin. I'm like, okay, I need to know about this. So we sat down, talked about it, and I had just done real estate for a while, got out of that when it just bottomed out in 2008. But I always was looking for new business ventures, new opportunities, and new ways around the system, which I never liked, because the whole system that just bottomed out in 2008 really left a bad taste in my mouth from all the real estate things. And I've actually met a lot of people that used to do real estate, now are in crypto. But I got involved in 2016. I looked at, back then there was Coinbase and Gemini were pretty much the two dominant websites. And you had Litecoin, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. So I dug into all three. I liked Litecoin the most because it seemed like a more advanced Bitcoin. It's also cheaper, which is how a lot of people get started. And I bought Litecoin in 2016. And after that, I was hooked. I started watching YouTube as much as I could, educating myself. And I've been I've lost count of how many thousands of hours I probably watched on YouTube and educating myself in articles and all of crypto. But now I'm in a position where I can give back to the community. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm trying to emulate the guy I wish I had when I started for everybody else that can get involved. And that's what my website and my videos are all about.
That's amazing. And I love the information that you're bringing, how you're diving into specific coins and really teaching people the use case. So is that kind of, can you give us a couple? I know we don't want to give away any of your game pieces for your members, but you like Litecoin. What are some of the other projects that you like, and why do you kind of lean towards those projects? Is there something about them that they have in common?
Well, each side of the board, it's four sides of the board. They have a category. So the first row is like your cheaper coins, like your kind of home run swings that could do well. Then it became DeFi and finance. That was the second layer, and then the third one was platforms, and then it was high-end coins. So platforms is something I really harp on, and I've shared a couple. I know that Atom is a free one that I put out there, and Ethereum just came out. I think it actually came out yesterday, and another one's going to be coming out this weekend. I'll say it here. It's Cardano. So those three are all platforms. So the reason I talk about platforms is it's a great way to play the space for owning one coin. Then it gives you leverage against hundreds of coins. So if you have Ethereum, you don't have to worry about what the next CryptoKitties is, or the killer app or dApp that's going to be on Ethereum. You just buy Ethereum, and you have exposure to hundreds, if not thousands, of coins for the price of one coin.
Interesting. So by supporting that exchange or platform, then you're getting the benefits of all those coins that would be carried on that platform.
Correct. Exactly.
Interesting. I know that you have, you've said you have the history in real estate. You also have a lot of knowledge about our national history. And is that just a love of our country? Where does that come from?
I was always big in history, and I know that that's why I gravitated to some people like Bitcoin Ben, who touches on history as well. But I've always liked history. I remember I had one. I always liked Western civilization, U.S. history. I had a history teacher that used to be a Civil War reenactor, so history always kind of resonated with me. And that knowing those kinds of things, it's just like knowing history. I always remember the quote, like, "Those who do not remember history are doomed to repeat it." So you kind of know where you came from to be able to not make the same mistakes. So knowing what I know now, and also knowing that I've learned that some of the history isn't correct and some things have evolved since in the last 18 months, learning about all the way back to 1871 and Hamilton and the second Federal Reserve and all that history, the history of our own country, which is not always taught very well. And some of it is like, what did happen after the Civil War before 1900?
Right.
It's kind of like glossed over. So learning those things lets you know about, you learn about the history, learn about the history of our money and there's systems that are now out there and if they're working to our advantage or not and why.
Yeah, because when you're in the chats, I always watch your comments because I know you've got great points about, I can almost hear your frustration sometimes. You're like, no, because this is this, and a lot of times it's things I didn't know. And so I really enjoy following you on Twitter and seeing you in the chats and as much as you contribute to the channels as well. So I'm really curious. I have a lot of people that talk about if we were to go back to a republic, a constitutional republic, which we have fallen out of. It's my understanding since the Civil War, and it was my understanding that Abraham Lincoln was our last constitutional or president of the republic. But then I've had people say no, there were two more, because if Lincoln was the 16th president, was my thought, if we go back to the constitutional republic, then Trump could be the 17th president. Do you see a scenario like that where we go back to the constitutional republic, or are we going to reinvent our nation in a new republic?
I think both are possibilities, but I think it's easier to go back than to reinvent. I think it's easier because it's been established. We can go back and say, okay, the Act of 1871 changed things and incorporated DC, made the US the United States of America instead of for America. And that was the breaking point, the divergent point. And that's where people say, it was Grant up until 1871, which I think was our 17th president. And then, we haven't had a president for the United States. We had a president of the United States operating underneath the corporation. That's where people get confused about, like, are we under maritime law incorporated? How does this all work? So the easier thing to do would be to like go back and say, well, everything that was happened from 1871 onward is not correct. And we need to go back to like that point and then hit the reset button and like kind of rolling everything back and then starting from there. And that's how Mr. T, as you like to call him, could get 2 more terms. And we can go, he could probably become, I think, the 18th president at that point. But and then everything that's happened since then, the income tax, the Federal Reserve, everything that's happened with the federal government that we think is law is now up for debate and challenge since 1871 kind of,
even things like NAFTA and our partnerships with WHO and all of that would be dissolved because those were agreements under the corporation, not under the republic.
Even the US dollar. No one alive has ever been in a world without the US dollar. The US dollar goes back to 1913, and people like the average fiat currency only lasts 27 years. We've actually we reset the US dollar at least 3 times. We did it with Bretton Woods in 1944. We did it with gold confiscation. We did it with the petrodollar in 1971. And we did it again in 2008 when we had the bank bailout. So we keep resetting the US dollar, which isn't helping us. But if we go back and say, okay, let's go back to what the Constitution says in constitutional money, which is a certain number of grams of gold and silver, and start there.
And that's in Nasera Jacera. Is it necessary? Like, we're seeing El Salvador choose Bitcoin as legal tender, which means that's what they're going to exchange in. but that means that their government they don't have an El Salvador dollar. Can we have, and would it be a good thing for our currency to be separate from our government? Do you see that happening in the US, or will we have a US dollar that's backed by cryptocurrency?
Well, I think we're going to have two economies running at once because I think they're going to try and put this Fed coin in an app and universal basic income and all that nonsense. And that's not going to help people, but people want to do it because you get free money. But as far as El Salvador, I think we do need to have a currency in addition to a reserve store of wealth. And that's where national debts and national trade would be settled. Even Michael Saylor recently said this because he thinks that there's going to be the US dollar working on the rails of Bitcoin. I actually challenge him on that because I think he's not well versed in altcoins. He's a Bitcoin maximalist just because he even says he doesn't know the rest of the coins. He thinks it's all about Bitcoin, and the currency would be the US dollar. It could be, or it could be something like Litecoin or Bitcoin Cash, which would be the currency compared to Bitcoin. It could be either way, one or the other. But I think you're right. I think we do need a currency in addition to the reserve, like wealthy digital gold or the Bitcoin.
So it could be in our reserve, or our national wealth could be that basket of resources. Mame talks about her friends that live in Brazil, and they're documenting and cataloging all the resources in the Brazilian rainforest, and they're actually putting those resources on, they're documenting them on the blockchain. We could do the same thing in the US by documenting our resources, whether it's, our fishing lands off the coast of Maine, the Grand Canyon, and what might be in there, our oil and gas resources, all of these resources that we have, coal, precious metals in the US, into a tokenized cryptocurrency that could also include if we've mined Bitcoin or Litecoin or some of these other currencies. Do you see like something like that, or is that too outlandish?
I think that's a possibility. It ties in with Nassar and Jassar by saying that is the RV, that's the revaluation, where you have each country has their commodities, their assets, and that's their value, and then we put a valuation of that for each currency, or each country gets their value, a documented value, and then they reset based on that into a currency or a store of wealth, and then they move forward with that. So that could easily be the way it works. But I think that's part of the two resets that are happening, and then we're going to have competition between, we have a basket of resources that each country has, whereas in Europe and with the World Economic Forum and the BIS and the NWO, with the pick three letters, what they're all trying to do is they're trying to pick the special drawing rights, which is like 5 different currencies, and then throw in gold and silver and then create a basket that way. So again, two economies that could easily be fighting against one another.
So if those economies are fighting against each other, it would be the nations and then the people within the nations who are choosing which basket they want to play out of, right? Is that
to a degree? It's to a degree, because I think what you have is that right now we have a SWIFT system, which a lot of countries are working with and translate and trade with, but there are countries that operate outside the SWIFT system. Russia's trying to get out of it. A few other countries are trying to get out of it. But then you can have countries deciding, like, I'm going to be on the Bitcoin system versus I'm going to be on the special drawing rights and World Economic SWIFT system. Then they combating those two, or you can even have states breaking into. We could have a split of the states and say we're going to operate on the old system, the SWIFT system, whereas the ones we're going to go in the new system, and however we define that.
Like we're seeing Texas make those moves, to the governor making those statements that we're open for business for Bitcoin in Texas, and making that kind of sweeping statement. So that's really interesting to see that it could even break down into states. Very, very interesting. It's just exciting for me, the time that we're in. It's a little stressful, I have to admit, but it feels like we have more choice now than ever, and that our voice really does matter. Although we're, the narrative is that, and I think they want us to believe that we don't have a voice, that we're just here, riding along. But what are some of those things that you see people can do for themselves to kind of prepare for this time that we're in, and to have that voice, or to, protect your family and have, be able to make those choices. Maybe what things should they look at for educating themselves or preparing themselves for this time?
I think you need to educate yourself as best you can and be ready for all different possibilities as much as possible. Have cryptocurrency, have precious metals, have some foreign currency, and just have them at your disposal. Have some lead and some other things like that. Have some cash on hand if you need it. Just be ready have a full tank of gas. Have some food. Just be ready for whatever can happen. No one predicted the last 18 months. No way. No one would have predicted that. But it's ironic that you say you never felt freer in an era where we went through a pandemic and we were locked down for a lot of it. So there is a dichotomy there. There's warring factions. It's like two stories we're being told, and we're like, okay, which one is this? Which one is that? What do I believe? What narrative does that fit? So all we can do is work with what we know and work within the rules that we're given, and try to prepare as much as we can. At least we are like awake enough and we know enough to say, like, okay, this or this could happen. And if that happens, what do I need? What do I need to do? So get your medication, get your food, get your lead, get your dollars, get all that stuff, get your crypto, and just be prepared as you can, because you don't know what the eventuality is, but at least you have 5 or 6 good guesses at it, and you have a good stockpile in case either one happens.
Yeah, I mean, my gut tells me this is not going to drag out. I hear a lot of people that have that kind of defeatist attitude, that feel like this is just the new way it is, and we just have to kind of go along. And I think there are peaceful ways that we can stand up and take our country back. And what do you see in that direction? Do you see people waking up? Do you see people looking for opportunities to take action in peaceful ways and how quickly do you think that could all happen? I mean, are we looking at another count in 2024 and we just give up and sit on our hands till then?
I don't think we can wait that long. And I think people are tired. People are tired of waiting. People are tired of this. And people, going back to history, people don't realize that the Revolutionary War was led by 2 or 3% of the population. So you don't need a ton of people to stand up and say, I've had enough. And we're getting more and more people saying, I'm tired of this. The masks are going away. A lot of the lockdowns are going away. And we're tired of just the nonsense that we're having to deal with. So I don't think it's going to last too much longer. I don't know how it's going to play out, but I don't think we're going to go all the way to 2024. I don't think we can. I think there's too much. I don't think the current economic system, the entire system, all these different narratives, all tied to the economy. So the economy can't last as it's working right now. So the economy is going to have to be reset in some way, and that's going to lead to all the different repercussions and all these different discoveries that happen. But it all ties back to that, and we can't wait till 2024 to reset the monetary system. It just won't last.
I completely agree with you. I don't even know that we'll make it to 2022, to be totally honest. I feel like we're at this exponential, like you said, there's multiple bricks falling off the wall. There's, the hyperinflation, there's the cryptocurrency coming in, there's, just too many moving parts, I think, at this point. The other, countries all over the world making different changes and stepping in and out of agreements. So I definitely agree with you on all of that. Well, I didn't have my typical crypto journey interview with you because you're multifaceted. You have way more going on and so much to give to the space. And I really wanted people to hear your brilliant mind for history and our economy and what's going on. And I love that you're willing to embrace a little woo-woo. And I guess what's woo-woo anymore? I don't know. When my big old conspiracy theories start coming true more and more, that's the other thing. What are you seeing, or are you seeing some of these things that were typically called a conspiracy theory kind of coming true? And then is that a ball that gets kicked down the road? Are there more and more, oh, that's a conspiracy theory, or will there be this awakening?
Well, I think that my favorite meme probably in the last 12 months is like, I'm all out of conspiracy theories. I need more. It's just, they're all come true. So I think that we're going to see more as things happen with the jab, and as things happen, unfortunately, from that, that will be calls to action and wake up moments for people. as well as what's going on in the government or not, as well as the economy. And just there's going to be 3 or 4 watershed moments that, and there could be, I mean, woo, to go full woo, don't be surprised if there's plenty of false flags. There could be UFO discoveries or information that's just, they're waiting for like the last shoe to drop, or a big shoe to drop, to release that. It's like, oh, never mind. Like, hey, look at the UFOs. They've already done that once. We had UFO footage last year and no one cared. That's how crazy it was. So
look over there really quick. Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
I think about the War of the Worlds, you know, when they were like telling people that the aliens were coming down, and then they're like, oh no, that was just a radio show, we were just kidding. I have a girlfriend that she was in Hawaii when they did this last it had to be almost 2 years ago now. Maybe it was earlier. I can't remember. I don't know if you remember when there was an incoming bomb in Hawaii, and she was on the island, and they were literally like rushing them all to the basement, and she's there herself. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you know what happened? She goes, oh no, they told us just somebody pushed the wrong button. It was like a false alarm, and somebody accidentally was going to send an atom bomb to blow us all up. I'm like, do you really think that's an accident? I mean, obviously that was like intercepted. We are in a war with China. I don't know. To me, it's like, how can people not see it? But even people that are physically there are just like letting it go right over their heads. I don't know what it's going to take. And I feel like because it is going to happen so quickly, and I guess the economic thing would be earth-shattering, especially to Americans, because we're so egocentric and America-centric that we think we're, untouchable. And if our economy breaks and our dollar is really worth nothing, and we're buying a loaf of bread with a wheelbarrow full of dirty fiat, maybe that would wake them up. I don't know what it will take. Do you have any ideas?
Yeah, I think, well, the whole thing about war, and they're not realizing it's a different war. It's a modern war. It's a digital war. It's not a hot war like everybody's used to, which I think is everybody is going to be happy about, because less people will die from a hot war that we don't have. So, but it's a digital war, and people are working through it. But these watershed events that people are going to be, the things that are being in the people's faces, probably going to be related to whatever they're trying to force down our throats as far as the jab, or something, some after effect of that, either it be like 9 months after the fact for certain women, or just a different death rate that's happening, or the economy just kind of implodes. It's just like, there's so many different things. There's so many plates spinning right now, and they're all like, they have so many things that they're trying to keep alive. At some point, something's going to crack, and then when one falls, the rest will all fall. And then there's got to be another, they're going to have to rebuild from the ground up. So they're trying to keep as many plates spinning as possible. That's what the G7 is doing right now. That's what all these different governments are doing right now, trying to say, oh, there's nothing to see here. Everything's fine, but it's not really happening. And most people are feeling the impact already of the inflation, everything costing more, and the businesses that were closed forever. There's so much that's happened in the last year, and people are at their point where like, okay, enough is enough. And like, I know it's very, people are so busy with the day-to-day, with everything that everybody has to do to keep food on their table and keep their families going and keeping their work, that they don't have time to even lift their heads up at a firefight mode and realize all what is really happening around them. So there's going to be a major event or 2 or 3 to really snap people to attention.
Well, and that's by design in itself, the keeping us busy with, the idea of success and work, and being good little slaves. They're talking about this EBS, and we're already seeing shutdowns in airlines, in Phoenix or Arizona area lately. And we're seeing these, Public and I were talking today about the different nuclear plants that are being serviced. So they're shut down or they're completely decommissioned. Do you see a large, or could you imagine, would that be a healing thing to like shut people off of the news and give them time to, how would they do that to be the most peaceful transition as people find out the truth? Like, is it going to all hit us like a ton of lead, and then we have this time where the grid is down from, I'm sure some Russian hack or something.
Yeah,
But they're able to do the EBS and do those fireside chats and try to walk people through some of this truth.
I think there's going to have to be like a fireside chat type thing where you get the EBS or whatever, just to give an idea of saying, here's what's happened, here's what is happening, here's where we're at. They can't take the grid down for long because the power grid needs to keep up so people can, so we have power so that people can live because of healthcare. There's lots of
Right.
reasons that we need the internet and the power grid to stay up, not just to keep our cryptocurrency going. It's because people's lives depend on it. So they could take it down for a few days and then people will be like, what the heck's going on? And then they'll just like kind of have like, okay, now we understand. Then the EBS might come on and say, here's what's really going on. Here's why we did it the way we did it. And here's, and then there's this, here's how we're resetting like everything or as much as they want to disclose. And at that point, it's basically like, here's everything, here's all the cards on the table. Here's why it happened. Here's how it's happening. And here's how we're moving forward. I think that would be the cleanest way to do it. I don't know if that's how it's going to happen. That's my hope if it's how it happens, but I'm not certain because we have no certainty going forward. That's if I was a betting person, that's where I'd put most of my chips on it, but I don't know how it's going to play out nor when.
Well, and I think that goes back to what you were saying earlier about no one would have guessed what we've experienced this last 15 to 18 months, so looking forward, it's definitely uncertain. There's a lot of opportunity, but there's a lot of uncertainty. So, well, I want to tell everybody to definitely check out your website again, LitecoinLeader.com. And they can also check out your YouTube channel. We've got Litecoin Leader at YouTube. And then you're also on Instagram and Twitter. Or did you get kicked off of Twitter?
I got the badge of honor. I've got bumped 2 or 3 times. I'm on Instagram and Telegram. Instagram and Telegram as Litecoin Leader.
Okay, I was thinking you did. It is a badge of honor, I have to admit. When I lost my channel, I was really upset about it. We're still building back, but I feel like our community is stronger and more authentic than ever. So, and I'm grateful to have you as a friend and part of the community as well. So, any final parting information or words of wisdom for the fam here?
Well, first off, thank you for the time, Lisa. It's always fun to talk to you, and I appreciate your community. It's a strong community, and you have lots of followers and lots of fans, so I appreciate you getting an opportunity to talk to them as well. But I think the more you can get out there and help a couple people just to get educated or know something, you don't have to be in your face with it, but just say, hey, if you ever want to know about cryptocurrency, or if you ever want to know about this or that, I'm here if you need me. And that's pretty much what you just make yourself available because people come to you. You won't know when they're going to come, but they will come to you. And they'll be when you least expect it. Maybe when Bitcoin gets to 100,000, like, well, tell me about this Bitcoin thing. It should be coming now, but they won't.
You mean the one that I was trying to get you to buy at 4,000? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's great advice. Everybody keep your hearts open. We're going through this transition. We're all came to this place at whatever point of knowledge that we're at because we got to lean on somebody else and learn from somebody else. So we need to pass that all on. Thanks again, Jeff. It's so great to spend time with you. And I wish you all the best with your Altcoinopoly. That looks really exciting. I might have to go download that and start playing myself. So you can always learn more. All right, you guys take care and remember to love one another.
So that's the interview. I want to thank one more time Litecoin Lisa, who did a fantastic job with the discussion. Always fun to talk to her. She's got a great channel. I would highly recommend joining her. She also has Patreon. I think it's only $5, so it's crazy cheap and inexpensive to join that. Good content she adds over there. Videos, I think Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock Eastern. Great value there. And there's also great value, as I said, on LitecoinLeader.com playing Altcoinopoly. So I hope you join the game. Plenty of time to get caught up. And I'll see you with plenty of videos between now and end of July for sure as we start to wrap up the game and move to the next step at LitecoinLeader.com. So with all that said, I'm going to close the drawer on the bureau, and I'll see you next time.